Long ago there were three animal friends who lived in the land of a wild forest, green fields and shining waters. Gull made her home in the marsh grass near the bay. Bear lived in a cave deep in the woods, and Crow had a nest in an old oak tree on the edge of a garden. Bear, Gull, and Crow often got together to visit and chat. One of the things they talked about were the upright walkers belonging to a nearby village. These beings called themselves Wampanoags, but the animals called them upright walkers because they walked upright on two legs all the time and never flew. The upright walkers lived in houses that they called Wetu, built from bent saplings and tree bark. They could make fire just as lightning did when it struck a tree. They grew corn from kernels planted in small earth hills. These kernels were sweet, crunchy nuggets that Crow loved to steal. They fished in the bay using nets, spears, hooks, and lines. The upright walkers also hunted in forests with bows and arrows, so Bear was very careful to keep his distance. One day Gull said to Bear and Crow, "Today I saw some upright walkers wading in the bay. There was a boy and a man. They lifted many smooth rocks from the waters and carried them into the forest. They said the rocks were for the Wampanoag. I wonder what an Wampanoag is." Crow thought hard for a minute. An Wampanoag must be an animal that eats rocks. "Could there be an animal bigger than I am?" said Bear. "I want to see this animal. Tomorrow I will go and spy on the Wampanoag." The next day Bear found a pile of stones. He hid behind the trees and waited. Before long the upright walkers came. They dug a very shallow hole in the ground. They carefully laid rocks into it and went away. Bear waited and waited, but the Wampanoag did not come to eat the rocks. Tired of waiting, Bear went to tell Gull and Crow what had happened. The upright walkers dug a hole and filled it with rocks, but the Wampanoag did not come. "Leave it to me," said Crow. "Tomorrow I'll figure out what's going on." The next day Crow perched in a tree near the rock pit. Soon the upright walkers will return. They collected lots of dry wood and piled it next to the pit. Crow flew hurriedly to find Bear and Gull. "The upright walkers collected wood. They're going to build a wetu for the Wampanoag," said Crow. "The Wampanoag will live in our forest in our own wooden house." He thought for a moment. What if it's not a friendly Wampanoag? Bear and Gull looked worried. The next morning at sunrise, as Gull was winging over the bay, she saw the upright walker man and boy on the beach. There was a girl with them too. Low tide had uncovered some wet sand that had been under water at high tide. The upright walkers were looking for the little holes in the wet sand. From time to time, water shot up from these holes. There were breathing holes of soft clam shells that lived under the sand. Gull watched as the upright walkers dug the clams out with long sticks. Some clams spit water even as they were dug out. Soon the upright walkers had filled a large basket with the clams. They waded into the shallow water and filled another basket with larger clams. Later on, Gull told Bear excitedly, "The upright walkers collected many clams. They said they were glad to have found so many clams for their Wampanoag. I hope the Wampanoag does not eat up all the clams and fish in the bay." Gull went on. "Next those upright walkers gathered the rockweed that grows on the rocks in the shallow water." "That Wampanoag is going to eat the rockweed too?" said Bear. "What will it decide to eat next?" Bear looked around. "Where is Crow? Wasn't he supposed to meet us here? Do you think that Wampanoags eat crows?" No sooner had Bear spoken than he saw Crow flying towards them. "I saw the upright walkers in the cornfield," exclaimed Crow. "They picked baskets full of corn. They said it was for the Wampanoag today. The Wampanoag is coming today." Bear, Crow, and Gull looked at one another. "Let's go," said Bear, and lickety-split, off they set off for the rock pit. There they hid among the trees. Before long some upright walkers started to gather. Then more and more came. There were men, women, and children, big and small, old and young. The upright walkers took a dry wood from its pile and laid it over stones. One man started the wood burning. Others started the fire and kept it going. They raked the burning wood so that the hot ashes fell into the cracks between the rocks. Soon ashes covered the rocks, heating them up. The upright walkers laid rockweed over the ashes. Steam rising from the ground gave off a sharp smell of salt. The upright walkers placed heaps of clams on top of the rockweed together with lobster, corn, and potatoes. When all the food was loaded, they covered it with more rockweed. Bear, crow, and gull sniffed the mouth-watering aroma with the food cooking. Now everyone fell silent as the old upright walker stepped forward and said a prayer to the Great Spirit. He thanked the Great Spirit for the animals, plants, rocks, and trees. The other upright walkers joined hands in the circle and stood in silence. Then, as the flute and drum sounded, the upright walkers began to dance. When the dancing had ended, the old upright walkers spoke again. "This is a fine day for our Wampanoag. The Wampanoag is a celebration, a time for our people to come together and give thanks to the Great Spirit and to feast on delicious food. So let the feasting begin." The rockweed covering was lifted off, and the upright walkers began to load their bowls with food. Gull, bear, and crow looked at one another. An Wampanoag was not a huge rock-eating animal with big teeth after all. An Wampanoag was a celebration where the upright walkers had a clam-bake feast, a mouth-watering, nose-tickling feast. How they wished they could leap out from their hiding place and join them. But what would the upright walkers think of these uninvited guests? Just then a girl walked toward their hiding place, carrying a bowl piled high with food. It was the girl that Gull had seen digging in the sand for clams. The girl laid the bowl on the ground. Before running to join the other upright walkers, she called out to the birds and animals who shared the forest and the bay with the Wampanoags, "May you enjoy sharing our Wampanoag, our clam-bake feast." And that is just what Bear, Gull, and Crow did.